Hey, this is Jeff. Happy New Year, and welcome back to Fallout 3, Pacifism, and more. PAM 2.0 is just about done, but I want to get your opinion on something before I publish it to the Nexus. Which is why we're here at the entrance to Vault 101. The main new feature in 2.0 is a configuration interface for the mod. You could previously only tweak the settings with console commands, which I showed in previous episodes, but that was a hassle. You had to find the one you wanted in the mod documentation and type it in without mistakes, and there were getting to be quite a few, so now you just need one. Bring up the console and type set PAM config menu to 1. And in a second or two, you get a menu. This menu lets you configure the Pacifism and more, PAM mod. Presets include one that restores the default PAM configuration, one that applies extra strict accountability standards when calculating the player's kill count, and one for players who only want the mod for the bug fixes. Customize lets you enable and disable individual features. We'll start with presets. PAM default enables all bug fixes and basic PAM features. Strict accountability is the same, but also increments the player's kill count when non-combat actions result in deaths, for example, giving Colonel Autumn the wrong code. Bug fixes enables all bug fixes and a few PAM features which can be easily ignored, for example, buzz-off insect repellent, but many alternate quest solutions are disabled. PAM default is just there if you've changed some settings and decide you want to go back to the way it was when you installed it. You can pick one of those or go back. If we go into Customize, selecting an option will display more information about it and allow you to set it as desired. And here you have independent controls over individual settings, just like if you were using the console commands. Say, mole rat repellent. Choose the effect Moira's repellent stick has on mole rats. Lethal preserves the vanilla game experience if you prefer the exploding head version. Non-lethal, the default PAM setting, provides an alternate no-kill solution to the Wasteland Survival Guide by making the repellent work as Moira intended. I don't actually want to change anything, so we'll just go back. Back again. And exit. Pretty straightforward, and that's probably how it'll work in the final version, but there's another way I tried. If I bring up the console again and type set PAM config menu to 2, it used to be 1 for reasons I'll talk about in a minute. A terminal appears beside the exit to the wasteland. If you activate the terminal, you get the same menu system we just saw. Exit. I tried the terminal approach first because if you want to do a full no-kill run, you need to start a new game to avoid having the tutorial roach on your kill count. I didn't want to put the terminal in the tutorial area because then you couldn't access it after you leave the vault, and there aren't any configurable settings for the no-kill features in the tutorial anyway. Putting it here let you configure the mod before you head into the wasteland, meet Moira, and start doing things that are configurable, like the mole rat repellent. Now, you might be wondering, if you can use the console to bring up the configuration menu anywhere, anytime, why tie it to a terminal here that would require you to schlep all the way back to the vault to use it? Well, that's what I wanted to get people's opinions on. If you're happy with the default settings, the pop-up version doesn't disrupt immersion at all because you'll never see it. If you just want to tweak one or two things or turn on strict accountability, it's no more intrusive than bringing up the main menu to change the difficulty, remap your keys, whatever. But a surprisingly high percentage of people on the Nexus are only interested in the mod for the bug fixes. Since I know they're going to want to change the configuration as soon as they install the mod, my first thought was a terminal at the vault door would serve both sets of players. But an in-game mechanism to control something 100% meta did seem pretty disruptive to immersion as soon as I tested it, especially right between your dramatic escape from the Overseer's guards and when you head outside and get the stunning reveal of the wasteland. So I made it invisible unless you use a console command to make it materialize. Which still takes you out of the game at a crucial plot moment, and like I said, the pop-up version works just as well if you have to stop and type a console command anyway, so there's no point having a terminal that appears and disappears. The question is, should there be a permanent terminal at the vault exit in addition to the pop-up version, so players who might want to change things right away can't miss it? Or do you think the pop-up should be the only way to get to the menu, so it doesn't disrupt immersion for players who are happy with the default settings and don't know or care that the configuration menu exists? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll probably also make a poll on the community tab of the channel page. Now, there aren't any other new mod features, but this would be a really short, really boring episode if that's all I did today. Luz still hasn't worked up the nerve to tell Elder Lions the Enclave stole the GECK, so let's wrap up a few more loose ends in the quest log. When we went to sell Lincoln artifacts to Abraham Washington, he also said he wants us to retrieve the Declaration of Independence from the National Archives, which is right around the corner from the Museum of History here, so it seems perfectly safe. Spoiler warning, it's not. Well, that was surprisingly uneventful. The ones that patrol this area must be out back by the metro station or something. Ranger emergency frequency signal. Let's listen to that.
To anyone receiving this message, this is Butcher of the Merc Company, Riley's Rangers. We're in danger and need help. We're trapped on the roof of the Statesman Hotel by a large contingent of super mutants. We are low on ammo and running out of time. If assistance is not possible, please attempt to contact Riley, who's made for Underworld inside the Museum of History. Oh shit, here they come again. We're trapped on the...
Quest added, Riley's Rangers. I bet that has something to do with the unconscious woman we saw in the chop shop when we were asking Dr. Barrows about Crowley. Maybe we'll go see about that after we grab the Declaration of Independence. Our best bet to keep Sydney alive through this first bit is probably going to be draw as much fire away from her as we can and keep the super mutants off their feet with the Taser Fist while she shoots them. If she lives long enough to become a temporary companion, you can give her stim packs, tell her to wait while you scout ahead, but she won't talk to you during this introductory skirmish.
Get your ass over here if you want to live. And watch out for the mines. Quick, they're coming. Lock and load, they'll be here any second.
I love our good! Gonna splatter your brains!
I'm glad that's over. Hang tight. There's always a second wave.
Just check the Pip-Boy. I tasered that super mutant right into a mine, which I don't think should bump up our kill count. Okay, it did not. Good.
Game's over!
Minigun.
You die now!
Ow, that really hurts. Hold on. Yes, I'm still wearing the lab coat. Put the power armor on.
Time to hot potato!
The minigun guy is the priority. Sydney has pretty good armor, so she can take a few hits from an assault rifle.
Yeah! Yeah!
Sounds like she got him. She has a custom SMG that's totally awesome. Mine.
Whew. Say, you're pretty decent in a firefight.
You must have really low standards.
Okay. The Declaration is secured in the Archive's strong room underground. There's a concealed cargo lift right here in the center of the rotunda. I've spent a few days hacking the lock with my remote terminal. When you're ready, punch in the password, and let's get going.
Unlike the Jefferson Memorial, where it's Dad's facility and he knows how to take advantage of the ventilation system and fire alarms, I just couldn't think of any plausible, plot-friendly way to get rid of the super mutants here without violence. I mean, technically you can grab the Declaration and leave without talking to her at all, but there are two problems with that strategy. First, this elevator bypasses 2 levels crawling with super mutants, and maybe more importantly, if you take the Declaration back to Abraham alone so she doesn't get a cut, she can spawn in a random encounter later. She has a friend, and she is not happy with you. We don't want that any more than we want to get jumped by Talon Mercs or regulators.
Men, today I address you with a message of utmost urgency. Our defenses have been breached, and soon we'll engage the enemy. Remember, The will of the people is the only legitimate foundation of any government, and to protect its free expression should be our first object. As your leader, Button Gwinett, distinguished representative of Georgia, I promise you I have not yet begun to fight.
Remember that name, because we will be meeting him later. Now, in theory, we don't need to put Sydney in any more danger at all. Tell her to wait, grab the declaration, just don't forget to come back and pick her up before we head to Rivet City.
What's up?
Wait here a minute.
You got it. Just don't stray too far.
With the robotics expert perk, we're much better equipped to deal with robots than super mutants. The only wrinkle is if we get caught. We can go into run around like crazy mode, spam stim packs, keep them off their feet with a Taser Fist. You know the drill.
Declaration in the archive strong room that's at the end of the east wing here. We'll have to make our way to it.
But I don't know how Button Gwinett will respond when we get to the strong room. If you destroy the robots, he's friendly, but if we just aggro them and we're still in combat status, he might be hostile.
Men, we can't let the enemy's progress dissuade us from our task. We must defend our freedom and our right to be independent. Strike now and strike hard. You may delay, but time will not.
And if we can't sweet-talk the password out of him, we'll have to get Sydney down here to kill him, and that might be a little bit tricky. Oh, do not come over here. Just turn around and go back to your normal patrol round. Its laser set off the gas trap. Can we disable it while it's stunned? Apparently not. Ow. There are all kinds of shortcuts in here that you can access with lockpick or science skill. Play a ring around the rosy until we get back to hidden. Protectron, we can disable that if it doesn't spot us.
Commencing attack on hostile target.
You need science skill to open this big utility door. Ours is plenty good enough. I thought you could disable them as long as you weren't detected, but we were still in caution. Maybe you have to be hidden? Lock that behind us so it can't follow us through. See if we can hide somewhere and get out of danger. Again. Alright, we might finally get to disable a robot. Why can't I disable these guys? Oh, there's a gutsy. That's not good. Ow. This time I was in a gas trap when it fired the laser. Get out of here. Oh, that gutsy's plasma weapon really hurts. Well, this is kind of embarrassing. I took silent running the last time we leveled up, not robotics expert, which I should have remembered because I also regretted it in Fort Constantine. Not as much as I regret it now, but adapt and overcome.
Continuing, sir.
Screw it. I'm just going to use a stealth boy. We have 10.
Search for fugitive.
Leave that open just in case. Gutsy doesn't see us. Robobrain doesn't see us. Take this side passage, and it should bring us out pretty close to the strong room door. Nothing in here. Nothing down there. Yeah, this is it.
The enemy is at the gates. Now is the time for the greatest of rallying cries. Wish not so much to live long as to live well.
We're still hidden, so fingers crossed Button will not be hostile. He is not.
You've breached our defenses, evaded our best soldiers, and you've raided my home. But I have not yet begun to fight. I cannot allow you to steal our freedom. The Declaration must remain here. It is our symbol of hope, the one thing that cries out, we are a free nation.
With high enough intelligence, you can remember what he said over the loudspeaker earlier. You must be Button Gwinett, second signer of the Declaration.
Then my reputation precedes me. Good. That should make you well aware that I am not to be trifled with, and that my loyalty to the States is legendary. I know your fighting prowess far exceeds my own, but I will still duel you to the death if I must. What will it be, then? Rapiers? Pistols at dawn? Out with it!
If you think my fighting prowess exceeds your own, your standards must be even lower than Sydney's. Still, that's quite brave of you, to potentially sacrifice your life over a document.
This is no mere document, madam. This is the doctrine laid down by my fellow members of the Second Continental Congress. It absolves us of the tyranny of King George III of Great Britain. It is, perhaps, the greatest symbol of this free nation.
You do realize that it's about 500 years later, don't you?
Petty lies and deceit may be the way of Great Britain's crown, but I will not succumb to such tomfoolery. Since it appears you wish to resolve this without bloodshed, may I suggest you stand down and surrender? I can promise that you will be treated well, in a manner accustomed to any member of the Royal Army.
There's more to this than you realize, Button.
Please explain, but I warn you, I am well versed on the tactics of the underhanded Redcoat's spy. You do well to remember that.
You can reboot him with Robotics Expert, which gets you the password but doesn't make the rest of the robots friendly, so I would have used the speech check anyway. Wait, I'm Thomas Jefferson? Hold on. So, we do have another new mod feature this week. As I suspected, there's a different line if you're playing a female character, but there's a bug that prevents the game from using it, which is now fixed and makes a lot more sense, since Button has extensive information about Jefferson in his databanks and certainly knows he wasn't a woman. I'm an agent of Thomas Jefferson, and I've returned to liberate the Declaration.
Saints alive! It is both an honor and a privilege, madam. I knew the day would arrive that Jefferson would send someone to help. I hope these fortifications are up to your high standards, madam. All of my men await your command to push and retake the capital. May I ask where you intend to bring the document?
It will be carried to our new president, Abraham Washington.
Our new president? So the stars and stripes truly are forever. All hail the red, white, and blue. Does this mean the war is over? Have we won?
Yes, Button, we won.
It's over? Amen to that. Then I suppose my posting here at the fort is complete. What are your final orders?
You can do whatever you like.
Then I choose to take a long-needed rest. I think you'll find that the rest of my men are long due for the same. I hereby relinquish command and control of this fortification to you.
Anyway, with the password he just gave us, this terminal will let us unlock the door and access the Declaration. There's also a skill book in here, Barter. Read that right now before I forget. In the middle safe, there's the Declaration. We'll loot the other ones too, obviously. Out here, don't forget Button's wig. Not an everyday item, but extremely useful in certain situations. +5 barter, +10 speech. And all of his supply cabinets have a ton of energy weapon ammo. And stealth boys. More stealth boys. Don't remember if those are always there or if it's random, but very nice. This elevator at the back is a shortcut to the main floor, but we won't be using it because it brings you out in the middle of a bunch of super mutants. Much safer to backtrack the way we came now that the robots are friendly. There's some good loot in these side rooms, but apparently the turrets are not friendly. Well, maybe we can sneak by them. Nope. Well, there is a way to disable them. Let's go do that. For some reason, I didn't bring the utility suit. Repair is 50. Turret generator requires 60. I don't remember if the utility suit is +5 or +10. If it's +10, maybe we'll grab it and come back. This is not the best planned heist of Luce's career. Let's go.
I'm ready. Lead on.
Take the secret elevator back upstairs. There are other super mutants on this level, but it doesn't look like any of them wandered into the rotunda while we were downstairs. We're out. I was afraid of that. The mutants that patrol the area around the National Archives are too close to fast travel. Well, see if we can sneak by them. Keep walking. Good enough. Let's go. His buddy's still up there, but he's facing away from us. Good. Nah, I was still hidden, but she aggroed them.
Screen!
Just gun it for the History Museum. Is she still with us? No.
What's the matter, huh? Can't stand the sight of your own blood?
Sydney, don't fight him. Just follow me. Oh, that car's on fire. Or get us both blown up. That works too. Okay, same plan, but I'm not stopping if she aggroes the super mutants. She'll catch up automatically at the loading screen if we make it to the History Museum before she dies.
Hey!
Oh good, they spotted her even earlier this time. Well, like I said, gun it. Don't care. That's fine. Plenty of stim packs. Moment of truth. She is alive, but barely. Let's give her a stim pack.
What's up?
Are you hurt?
Yeah, they got me pretty good.
Here, take one of these stim packs. It should help.
Thanks. I'll use it right away.
Which might seem like a waste now that we're safe, but we still have to go to Rivet City. Which should also be safe once the super mutants outside settle down, but her hit points looked low enough that a physics glitch could kill her.
What do you want?
Hey, Fox. Detected, that's him, but we're officially out of combat. You know, how sometimes you take damage if you kick a loose item on the ground? I'd hate to get her through all that and then have her die tripping over a loose piece of scrap metal or something. Whoa, major lag.
Welcome, visitor.
And let's sell some loot while we wait.
Following me.
Hey, wake up. We have some good news for you.
So, have you decided to become a part of history and triumphantly return with the Declaration of Independence in hand?
Yes, Sydney and I have the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, my lord, I never I'm utterly shocked. You two have earned your places in the annals of American history. Yes, indeed. You will be remembered for this great day. I will award Sydney's promised bounty to her personally. No need to worry yourself about that. Enjoy your reward, my friend. You've earned it.
I think that makes up for not selling him any Lincoln artifacts.
What's up?
Since we're done now, why don't you tell me about yourself?
Well, I don't know. I grew up pretty much like every other girl in this crappy world. Spent most of my life just trying to keep away from slavers. One day out in the wastes, I stumbled across some poor bastard's body. On the body, I found info leading to some famous document. I had heard that Abraham Washington was looking for these scraps of paper, so I went after the thing. Turned out to be the Constitution. After he loaded me up with caps, I got pissed drunk, got laid, and was happy for the first time in a while. I haven't looked back since.
Nice gun. I've never seen one like that.
Yeah, it is nice. I don't even sleep without it under my pillow. My father made gun ammunition for a living. Taught me everything about how firearms work. So I've spent my downtime tinkering with guns like my 10mm Ultra SMG here. It's like a hobby, I guess.
So whatever happened to your father?
I thought he was the best. My mom was long gone, so all we had was each other. He used to call me his little moonbeam. How sappy is that? But when I was 14, he vanished and left me all alone. Never even said goodbye. I cried for a week. Do I have to tell you what it's like for a young woman alone in the wasteland at that age? I don't know where he went, and I don't care. I just hope he got what he deserved, the son of a bitch. Well, now that we brought back the Declaration, I think I'll take my cut of the earnings and head out to get drunk. Look me up in the Underworld if you ever need me. I usually hang there since ghouls don't hit on me all the time.
And that will be relevant later. Or pretty soon, actually, since we should go do Riley's Rangers next. But we definitely don't have time to finish that today, so I think I'm going to go back to Megaton, heal, save, and show you the modding details. If you bail out when I start talking about technical stuff, before you go, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment letting me know what you think about the configuration menu. Should the pop-up be the only way to launch it so it doesn't disrupt immersion for players who don't want to change any settings, or should there also be a terminal at the vault exit so players who do want to change things and start a new game after they install the mod can't miss it? The fix for Button's dialogue bug was exactly like many others we've seen so far. The correct prompt and voice lines already existed, but they were unreachable, so I overrode the relevant topic in APAM dialogue and gave it the right conditions so it shows up if the PC is female. The configuration menu was a different story. It's a series of message boxes, and message boxes with just an OK button, like the one for the Project Purity ventilation system, are pretty simple. Message boxes with multiple menu choices, like the Project Purity sump valve, are disproportionately more complicated, but it gets really hairy if some of the choices lead to sub-menus. If you're used to contemporary UI design tools, this will probably seem appallingly cryptic and convoluted. If you remember the days before there were UI design tools, you might think, this isn't that bad. And to be completely fair to the game, if I implemented this as a terminal and only a terminal, setting up submenus on terminals is much simpler. It's only complicated because I didn't like the terminal idea after I tested it, so I made it a pop-up menu with message boxes. First, we have a message box for each menu screen. I'm a big fan of self-documenting code and giving objects and variables meaningful names, but I used this numeric naming convention because I learned the hard way in Coito Ergo Sum that without some kind of mnemonic in the message box name that represents where it belongs in the hierarchy, keeping track of what needs to shift if you add a menu in the middle of other nested menus is a nightmare. This is the main menu with the title, message text, and menu options we saw in the gameplay part of the video. You can have conditions on each menu option if there's something context sensitive, but in the case of the configuration menu, there isn't. But to make the menus do anything, we need a script. For that, we have two activators, one for the terminal version and one for the anytime, anywhere version. Here's the script for the portable version, since I know that one will be in the update. Awaiting input and button are used just like they were for the Project Purity sump valve, but there's another variable called menu num, which, as the name implies, keeps track of what screen the player is interacting with. When the player activates the activator, and I know you didn't see me interact with anything other than using a console command to set a global, but we'll get to that in a minute. It displays the message box for the main menu, sets menu num to 1000, which corresponds to the message box's ID. Not because it has to. Like I said, in Coito Ergo Sum, the message box IDs were meaningful names, but it was a nightmare trying to remember, is vintage artwork menu 17 or is that magazine covers, when there were literally dozens of submenus, and I had to make a cross-reference and look at it every time I wanted to add or rearrange menus. And it sets awaiting input to 1. Down in the game mode block, if awaiting input is 1, we check to see if a button has been pressed. And if it has, we go into a complicated series of if-else blocks to take the appropriate action based on which menu is active and which button was pressed. If we're on the main menu, we set awaiting input to 0 and check which button they pressed. If they pressed the presets button, we set the menu number to 1100, set awaiting input back to 1, and display the message box for the presets menu. Very similar code if they pressed the customize button, just set menu num to 1200 and display that message box. Anything else is the exit button. We don't set awaiting input back to 1, set menu num to 0, and then disable and delete the activator. As you might have guessed, this works by spawning an activator object near the player and automatically activating it in another script, but I'm getting ahead of myself. If we're on the presets menu, the PAM defaults button sets the global variables that control mod behavior back to the way they're set when you first install the mod. I talked about these variables and how they work when I went into the modding details of the respective features they control. The strict accountability and fixes only buttons set them differently according to the description we saw in the message box text, and there is no explicit code for the back button because all of them go back to the main menu, which happens by setting menu num back to 1000, awaiting input to 1, and redisplaying that message box. All the options under Customize use the same technique to display the appropriate submenu, or in the case of back, return to the main menu. Those submenus just set one configuration variable the way the player wants it and go back to the Customize menu. The script for the terminal version is exactly the same, except it just makes itself invisible again when you exit. It doesn't delete itself, because the terminal activator is placed in the game world in the GECK, not on the fly by another script. Well, it would make itself invisible again, but I have that line of code commented out because I decided that if I leave the terminal version in the game at all, it'll be a permanent fixture. There's no point making it appear and disappear when we have the pop-up version for that. Over in the script for the PAM Updates quest, there's a code at the bottom which responds to the player using a console command to set the PAM config menu variable. If it's set to 1, it sets it to 99 and spawns a copy of the portable activator object near the player. We can't activate it immediately because it doesn't fully exist in the game world in the first frame after it's placed. But we don't want to wait another 5 seconds to activate it, so we briefly set the quest script to run 10 times a second. The next time it runs, a tenth of a second later, which is more than enough time for the game to recognize the activator object we just spawned as real. PAM config menu is 99, we set it back to 0, activate the activator with a flag that tells the game to act like the player activated it, and set the quest script back to running once every 5 seconds. The cases for PAM config menu being 2 or 0 are there to handle making the terminal version of the activator visible or invisible, and I'll strip that code out before I release the update because, again, the terminal version would be a permanent fixture if I even leave it in. And on that note, I will once again solicit opinions on whether or not I should leave it in. On one hand, that would mean players who do want to change their settings can't miss it, at least if they start a new game after they install the mod. On the other hand, it disrupts immersion for players who are happy with the default settings or would be just fine using a console command to launch the pop-up version. I'm from the RTFM generation, so I'm leaning towards stripping out the terminal version and only having the pop-up, but I've learned my preferences are frequently in the minority, which is why I'm asking for opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.